Hello students, welcome to another session on our database design and development course. Today we are going to see how we can retrieve data from a single table. For this we will use our accounts payable database that we downloaded from Morachi's website. And SQL, as you know, it is the universal standard for working with databases, and SQL has different types of syntaxes as we studied in the class. Data manipulation language category is used for retrieving and manipulating data, and data definition category is used to create database as well as database objects, and data control language is used to create the controlling things such as users, privileges, and partitioning, things like that. So in that series, what we are going to see today is the selection statement, select statement. So select statement is used to retrieve data from table or tables. So we will see first retrieving data from a single table. The basic structure of a select statement is select, and the list of name table or column names goes here, and then from close comes with the base tables, table name goes here, and then where condition is applied to filter data, and then after that order by clause is used to arrange the result set by ascending or descending order, descending order. So this is the basic structure of a select query. As you know, in our sample database we have different tables. You can have a look at these sample database accounts payable. There you see vendors, invoices, invoice line items, terms, etc. So we will use these tables to learn SQL language to select data. So you use the select statement to retrieve data or retrieve columns, display columns from a table, and where clause we apply to filter the data, and order by clause is used to arrange the data in ascending order or descending order. So first we will see how we can retrieve data, all entire data available from a table. So for this purpose we use a select statement. Select all, asterisk symbol is used, and then from table name comes vendors is one of the sample tables we have in the database. So I have typed select all, asterisk stands for all data from vendors table. So if I execute, all data from the vendors table is displayed here. You can see there are 122 rows returned out of this table. So it is the simple version of the SQL statement to retrieve data from a single table. If you want to use the invoices table, we can have invoices. It is one of the tables available in the sample database. If I execute, all data from invoices table is returned. So this is how the syntax works for retrieving whole data, entire data, all data from a particular table. So select statement goes like this: select all, and then from invoices. The syntax can be written on a single line or more than one line. And as I told in the classes, the SQL language, it doesn't matter whether you type the syntax in a capital letter or small characters. It doesn't make any difference, since SQL is case insensitive. So we can have these on different lines. Still it works. You can see still it works. So in order to improve the readability, we keep them in separate lines. That's what we do. So if you want to see the other data from other tables, what we can do is we can just drag and drop the table name so that it appears here, and then execute. Yeah, you can see the data from invoice line items table is displayed on the screen. So let us see how we can retrieve data from a particular to see the particular columns from a table. We see here we have vendor ID, vendor name, vendor address 1, address 2, vendor city, and vendor state, and vendor zip code, etc. It goes the columns grows there. And if you want to select particular rows, particular columns from the table, what we have to do is to, instead of mentioning all data by having this asterisk symbol, we can type the column name. Vendor ID is also already there. Vendor ID is there, and I would like to accept this. Yep, vendor ID, vendor name, vendor city, and vendor state. Let me get all these data, right? So I would like to have vendor ID, vendor name, vendor city, and vendor state from vendors table. So if I execute, yes, only the 4 columns that I have mentioned are here. Vendor ID is here, vendor name is here, vendor city is here, vendor state is here. Let me change the order of these columns and see what happens. If I run this, yes, vendor ID, vendor state is mentioned second. That's why it is appearing second. So you have to keep in mind that the result set appears in the order that we mentioned in the SQL statement, right? So next, what we can see is how we can arrange the data displayed from in a result set. Let us run the initial query. Select all from vendors. Okay, so here you can see we have typed 2 statements, so we have to select the statement that we want to run and execute. Here you see the entire data from vendors table is displayed, and it is arranged by the vendor ID. You can see it is arranged by the vendor ID, and the first vendor name is US Postal Service, and second is the National Information Data Center. So we can arrange the name displayed by vendor name if you like. So let me have it order by vendor name. Okay, execute. Here you see the vendor ID is not in order, but vendor name is in order. It starts with the A and it ends with the Z. So it is arranged by ascending order. You can have it by descending order as well. Ascending order A, C is denoted to order the result set by ascending order A to Z or 0 to 9. So when you arrange a result set by ascending order, null values are null. Okay, null values are displayed first, and then symbols are displayed second, and the numbers go third, and then text comes last. So this is the order, and ascending order, even though I don't mention the ascending order ASC, still it executes in ascending orders. So it means ASC, ascending order, is the default arrangement order. If you want to override it, you can have it ordered in descending order, so that Z appears first and then A appears last. So that is ascending and descending order. Let me delete this, and we can have this applied to our selected columns as well. Vendor name, order by vendor name, vendor name. Yeah. So here also it is arranged by vendor name, and I would like to make a mention here, as I mentioned in the class, the column name that you are using for arranging the result set need not to be the column name that is available here in the table. It means you can use a column name that is not available in the selection list. So let me browse through the columns available in the vendors table, and we have vendor zip code available, but it is not displayed here. We can arrange it by vendor zip code as well. Well, it works, and previously it was A, so there is no A here. Either it is not by vendor ID. Here M, it doesn't mean it is starting with M because C is down here, and it is starting with B here. You might find some other characters A may be available in case. So which means that the columns or result set has been ordered by vendor zip code. That is one way of ordering it. And also you can mention the column position number you can mention. So in case you say 1 means the first column in the selection list, not in the table, right? So here you can arrange it by vendor ID or vendor name. For 2 means vendor name, it is arranged by vendor name. And let me repeat it, a vendor ID, first one vendor ID. But if I mention 5, it throws an error. The order by position number 5 is out of range of the number of items in the select list. In the select list we have only 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if you have a 4, it is fine, but if you go for 5, it is out of range because it is not available. So that is to be noted. And then what I wanted to show you is we can arrange the result set by more than one column. Previously we arranged it by vendor name. Now let us arrange it by vendor state. Vendor state, so that vendor state appears here. Here you see AZ Arizona is here, and then CA comes, and under CA California, you see F is there and S comes and F comes later. So what we can do is we can arrange by more than one column. Vendor city, let us run this and see what happens. Okay, here AZ and California, Anaheim, and then B, Fresno, third, like that it comes. Okay, so first it arranges by vendor state. Within that arrangement, it looks for more ordering. That's what happens. And also you can have this by arranged by descending order, and then this one is vendor city by ascending order. It also happens. It's possible because you see here W first. It comes first, so that is also possible for arrangement. Next I would like to show you is using column alias, which means and the other name. You can use different names to mention the column that the name that is not available in the table. For instance, let me get rid of this line, and here it reads as vendor name. I can call it as name, right? So if I call it name, here you see then it appears as name, and for improving readability we use as keyword. So that is using column alias. And if the column alias has more than one more than one word, what we can do is we can have it within a single quote or square bracket. We can use here, we can use a different name, supplier name. We can call it supplier name, so that it is enclosed, and here it appears as a supplier name. So usually we use these column alias to display the name for calculated columns. Calculated columns, you can make some calculation, do some calculations on columns in the table. Select all from vendors. Let me run this. Here we can see vendor address 1, vendor city and vendor state. Let me formulate a new column called address. Okay, so I'm going to have select vendor ID and vendor name, vendor address 1, vendor address 1, comma vendor plus, we will have plus, okay, plus vendor city plus vendor state from vendors. Okay, so here I'm creating a new column by combining vendor state and vendor city, and let me call it as address. Okay, address. So I'm going to run this. Here you see I have a formulated calculated column, new column called address. So it doesn't have any spaces in between, so I can add some spaces. So vendor address 1, so let me add a space, comma, let us run this. Okay, let me go get rid of this. It comes here, and we can have a comma separating the address. Okay, yep, it's very nicely formatted. So we can use these alias as well as calculations in the SQL query. And let us have another calculation on invoices table. Select all from invoices. Let us run this. Invoices have vendor ID, invoice number, invoice date, invoice total, payment total, credit total. Let us calculate 10% or 12% VAT amount on invoice total. So for this purpose, let us have select vendor ID and invoice number, invoice total, and then invoice total multiplied by 0.1% of 0.1, which means 10% as VAT. So let's see what happens. Vendor ID. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, and execute this. Yes, you can see here we have done a calculation and it appears here. And you can apply these order by close here as well. Order by invoice total, so that the least amount appears first, and if you want to make it the other way around, we can have DSC. So descending order, largest amount appears first, maximum amount appears first, and the minimum appears last. That is using the order by clause. And then comes using where clause. Where clause we use to filter records having some conditions. It applies some condition. So before displaying the results set, the where condition is applied, and then after that only you can use order by close. That's why it appears between from close and order by close. So let us have a condition applied here. We would like to see the invoices above 1,000 rupees or something like that, so that where I can have the column name invoice total greater than 1,000. Let's run this. Here you see invoice total 37,000, and here you see 1,000. That is the minimum threshold that we applied. If I make it 10,000 and execute this, exactly what appears here, you can see it is about 10,000. And the same where condition can be applied for numeric values and non-numeric values as well. If you want to apply the condition for numeric values, you can use without any single quotes or any other values, when you have double quotes or whatever. So here we don't use a single code since it is a numeric value. And let us have another example from our vendors table. Select all from vendors where vendor ID equals 12. Okay, let's run this. So here you see only one vendor with the vendor ID 12 is there in the database, so it appears from vendors table. In the vendors table, there is only one vendor with the vendor ID 12. And you can use different operators for comparison. You can use a equal sign for comparing equal values, and greater than value, and less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to, and then not equal to. These are the operators available. You can make use of them. And if you want to apply these where condition for columns with text data, let's see vendor state equal yeah, vendor state, yeah, state. Let's run this. So only one record with vendor state wi, right? So let's make it as CA, California, right? CA, there are a lot. You see here, there are a lot. So you can use it, or let's see how we can work within when the name is okay, and we will see the pattern like operator is there, what we use to have some mask patterns, or also we call it patterns. We can use like operator to make some comparison. So if it is date value, you can use it between single quotes. If the data from yeah, let's see, select all from invoices. Okay, run this. Let me have a date. It is 2015 December 8, and it is 2015 December 16. So let us have it where invoice date greater than 2015 15 12 10. So here you can see only the values that were generated after 2015 December 10th are appearing. So that is another example of using the where clause with the date values. Next, I would like to show you how you can use the like operator in with where clause. So as you can see, like operator has a pattern match expression. That is the match expression. This is the order, so not, and like, then comes the pattern. So pattern, we have seen in the class how you can formulate the patterns. So let me get some data from vendors table. Vendors, okay. So first let us see how we can retrieve data from vendors table using vendor name. So I would like to retrieve all data for vendors whose name starts with C. Okay, C. So where name like C, and then this percentage symbol. So percentage means all, and C starts. So starting with C, and it can have as many characters as there. Okay, so it shows only the vendor names that starts with C, and it starts with CA, CI, CR. So if I want to have only CA, I can type CA and percentage sign, so that only CA appears. And I can also search for vendor names that are ending in E. So here, or any characters can come in the front, and it must be ending in E. So here service ends in E, commerce ends in E, like that all vendor names are ending in E. So if I want to have another pattern, C percentage sign and then E, which means it should start with C and end with E. So let us run this. Here it starts with C and ends with E. That is one example of using the like operator. And then we can say vendor city, vendor state. Let's go for vendor state or vendor city. Vendor state, vendor state like W. So only one is there, and vendor state like N. There are more. Yes, NJ, NJ, NY, NC, NY, NJ. So we can have it like these. It must be starting with N, and it can have a range of value. Okay, it can start with N, and it must be ending. It must be N through J. So it should have N, and it should be ending in J. Let's call. So it is going to display all states that are starting in A, and B, and C up to NJ. N, I, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. K will not be displayed, right? You will see. So in J and C is appearing and J is appearing, and let us call K to Z. So here you don't find NJ or NC, right? And if you want to negate this, what we can do is you can have a caret symbol, so that it is negating. So not, which means not, right? It is not K through Z. So it means before K it appears, right? That is using the not operator. Here it is different not, right? Not like this is not like this not operator. This is the negation of the same. And also if you want to see okay, vendor names, vendor name, what we can see is vendor names should be starting from A, B, C up to J. Let's call J, A through J, and it can be followed by any character. So vendor name from order by name. So here you see vendor name from A through J appears here. No K, right? So if I negate this, from K downwards it goes, right? This is how we use the like operator. And more what we can see is displaying top records. Yep. Then comes using top keyword. So select all from let us call it select vendor ID, invoice ID, invoice total from invoices. Okay, let's run this, and order by vendor ID. Okay, so let's get rid of this invoice ID and run this. So here you see invoice ID is ordered, and if we want to see the top 5 records, we use top 5. Vendor IDs will be displayed. Here you see 114 records, but if you run this, you will see only 5 records. Okay, and third record, fourth record, and fifth records are for same vendor, and let us call it 4. So only 4 is returned, but the fifth also same, so it must be included, right? So that's why we use the with ties keyword, so that the tying values will also be appearing, because we are asking for only 4 but it is returning 5. Since the fifth value is also from same vendor, that's why it is appearing. Since we use this with ties, if we remove with ties, it displays only 4. Also we can find top 5. We can have 5% also we can use, which means top 5%. Let's run this. So it is 6. As you remember, I'm cutting this. As you remember, there are 114 rows. 10% is 11.4, and 5% is nearly 6. So let's run this. There are 6. You can't have it 5.71 like that. You can't have it. So it is 6, right? So that is using top keyword with the SQL, and then finally we will see displaying unique records, right? Unique records. Let's call these select vendor state from vendors, right? Run this. You can see here there are 122 records returned, but the vendor states are repeated, so it is duplicated. If you want to see the particular unique records of these vendor state, what we can do is we can have these distinct keyword used, right? Distinct, so that we get only the unique records available. There's no duplicate. AZ only appears only one time, CA appears only one time, and you can have see here, you see here only 22 rows are returned, because there is only 22 unique records available. So up to now we have seen how we can retrieve data from a single table using SQL query, and we saw how we can retrieve all data from a query from a table, and then we saw how we can retrieve particular columns, and then we saw how we can order the result set. After that we moved on to see how we can apply conditions to filter record without displaying entire data available from a table, and then we saw with like operators how we can use, whether we also saw the examples, and then we saw how we can display top records, and then we saw how we can remove duplicate rows from the result set to see unique records. Also we saw how we can arrange tables by using order by keywords, by ascending order as well as descending order. So please practice them all in your laptops, and we will see in another movie with more examples after the next class. Until then, thank you for watching this, and good luck.